My name is Luke Peabody. I work for AIT Composites, and I am a marketing and communications associate. I received a bachelor's in business administration from University of Maine at Orono. I oversee a lot of the marketing that we do here, and I help with communications. Yeah, I really didn't know where I would do marketing. I knew there was a lot of options. But I found myself working at the Advanced Structures and Composite Center. And there I saw the Bridge in a Backpack display, and that kind of led me towards AIT Composites. Working at the Advanced Structures and Composite Centers for sure. Seeing a lot of the work and the technology and the research that was done there. Those experiences helped me a lot here. So I come in the morning, and usually I go downstairs to check in on the floor guys to see what type of work they might be doing and whether or not I need to, take some photos and document what they're doing. If that's the case, I'll take a lot of photos, I'll make social media posts, I'll use that for advertisements. There's a lot of emails I like to do, I have to do. I will also monitor social media. I'll monitor our websites. I'll do updates on the websites. Taking the data from the website is very helpful, so we can see where our time is being spent and whether or not it's worth it. We'll look into potential markets and try to figure out the best way to sell our products there. We'll do a lot of things like that. I think a lot of skills, I haven't gained a lot of skills, but I've sharpened a lot of my skills in terms of communications, talking to people about what we do here. Before I started at AIT, I didn't really do a lot of photography, and I've found myself kind of the only person that does do that here. So I've gotten a lot better at taking photos and learning how to edit, and those are very transferable. I enjoy that I don't have to sit down at a desk all day, and there's a lot of work in the field, and I get to talk to a lot of different people and learn a lot of different things. Some of the biggest challenges are, we're working with a lot of engineering, and I'm not an engineer, so I don't understand a lot of things that are going on. But luckily, we have a very open environment here where we can talk to our engineers, and they teach us a lot, and they help us with a lot of things when it comes to making presentations, and also just making advertisements, things like that. As a marketer and a communicator, we have to talk to a lot of people, and I think being a very outgoing person and a very positive person is extremely helpful, because we have to go to trade shows, we have to make phone calls, we have to be on a lot of Zoom call meetings with people that we don't know, and the work that I'm doing right now and the documentation that I'm doing, products that we sell, it's bigger than most people think. I think in 5 to 10 years, maybe even sooner than that, all of the bridges in the world will be built with composites. There'll be a lot more FRP involved in construction. And I think that my work's not very interesting. I guess taking photos isn't the most interesting thing, but so the work that AIT does, specifically, bridges over waterways and things like that, because we're not using steel and other things like concrete, we're not corroding, we're not worried about, the fish in the water under that could be contaminated with, paints and rust and all of those things. 2 years ago, AIT completed an arch bridge project in Washington State as part of, it was a national mandated sort of project that was for fish passages because they need to replace like 300 or 400 bridges specifically in Washington State. So we did one of those where we expanded the river so that the fish could make their way upstream, and that's going to help, restore a lot of commercial fishing, but also just making the environment a lot nicer. Marketers and communicators, we do a lot of obviously communicating with potential customers. We do a lot of trade show work, so setting up booths and events and things like that. We have to make a lot of advertisements. We do a lot of social media work, website work, website design, website editing. So you need to have good communication skills. You need to be able to use a lot of computer programs involving like Excel, website editors like Wix or WordPress. You also need to have pretty good photography skills or decent photography skills. And a place like AIT is pretty forgiving. They, allow you to grow and learn a lot from that. I think in today's age, also learning how to use a drone, if possible, is a pretty big thing. I've attended a couple, or I'm trying to attend a couple workshops to learn how to do that, and I think we're going to get a drone soon. Being familiar with all the new social medias is also an extremely important thing, because how a lot of today's business works is online. So being able to use them fluently, understanding how they connect with each other is also extremely important. So recently, AIT Composites installed the first ever of its kind bridge in Hampton, Maine, the Gristmill Bridge. My involvement with that was, to take photos, to document a lot of that. Since then, we've done a lot of advertisements and a lot of meetings and a lot of webinars about that specific bridge. And we've also had a lot more projects with Maine DOT, Rhode Island DOT, Washington DOT, and a couple private projects in Florida. And for all of those, I've had a lot of documentation. I've had to take a lot of photos. And with all those photos and documentation, there's been advertisements